Hi there, everybody. This is Carrie Hamblen, the CEO and president of the Las Cruces Green Chamber of Commerce, coming to you again with another one of our member Zoom chats. These are Zoom chats that are quick and easy and fun that are offered to members of the Las Cruces Green Chamber of Commerce. And we boost these up on our social media and we throw them out on our YouTube channel and we send them out to our email list. So if you'd like to do that, the information will be at the end of this. But today I have with me Carmen RustenBeck, who is the founder of the International Board and Pet Services Association. Now, I know that's a mouthful, but it means a whole lot for you. So, Carmen, it's so lovely to see you. How are you doing?
Thank you, Carrie, for having me. I'm doing great. It is wonderful to be able to sit and talk with you today about IBPSA and all the work we do.
And so, we before we started recording, I was talking about OMDP. This is one of those where you really want to keep saying the acronym just because it makes a little bit sense, a little bit more sense, and it lessens it. But we're talking about the International Board and Pet Services Association, and you've been a member of the Green Chamber for quite some time now. Tell
Yes.
us about it, like because you're the founder, and
Right.
how did it start, and what services? Did you like? Tell me about the evolution of IBPSA.
So after my husband retired from the military, we found ourselves in Colorado Springs, and I was looking once again to start my career over again, but this time, hopefully for the last time. And I ended up just doing odd jobs, and I got picked up by a trade association that worked with pet boarding and daycare. And they were the original pet boarding and daycare association. They established the industry and made it an industry where the government had to recognize it with its own tax ID, 6-digit code and everything. So at the time, so we're about 80 years old right now as an industry, and at the time people boarded their dogs on people's farms. Oh, I got some chicken coops in the backyard,
Mm.
basically, and I'm gonna put my dog there. And then we took it from that level to how can you have dogs play together in daycare, what is the best practices on take care of other people's pets, and of course that evolutionized, and how we as Americans started thinking about our pets and
Mhm.
how we brought them from outside at the doghouse inside into the home. And so as we sort of changed our ideas about how we felt about our pets, so did the care of those same said pets. So about 13 years ago, the association that I had worked with, they found themselves in some financial trouble and they didn't think they were going to survive. So I said, you know what? I had moved on and I thought, well, I think I could pick this up again and go with vision further into the future. So I founded IBPSA, and the other association, unfortunately, did file bankruptcy, and that was sad because it was a lot of history lost. But I had been very grateful to sit with that executive director and learn from him for 3 years. So
Mm.
that was great to have that foundation laid by him. And so the goal of IBPSA is to educate for our specific industry business owners and their employees in the proper care of animals in a environment where you could have maybe only 35 pets, or I have a boarding facility in Washington, D.C. that does 500 pets a day on the boarding side, plus a veterinarian side. So that's a
Wow.
whole different reality of pet care right there. It's just like, I
Yeah.
don't even want to go down that road. So when knowing that we had all of these different sizes of boarding industry companies that may do grooming, maybe not. Maybe do acupuncture for your pet. Maybe they
Mhm.
do, if you like grooming and you have a white dog, you do a blueberry mask because it makes the white whiter on your white dog's fur. So all these little things. And so once you start getting into, I know it's sort of fun, right? You start
Yeah.
getting into all the little nitty gritty stuff. It's like, okay, how do you take all of that and put that in front of a business owner and say, here's a successful plan to not only open your business, but go through all the cycles of the business and then exit, transition out well. How do you do that? So then we also discovered that at the time, there was no education for pets unless you wanted to be a veterinarian or a vet tech. So
Mhm.
very recently, New Mexico State University, I'm going to say within the last 10 years, had brought in an educator from Canada, and she has established at New Mexico State University the animal care program. It's a companion animal program, goes
Oh, I know
all the
her.
way
Yeah,
up.
I know who you're
Yes,
talking about. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So I've had a great opportunity to go to her classes, talk to those students about, okay, now you've taken all this about companion animal care. How can you turn that into a business? And so that's sort of where I've landed. We've had about 3 or 4 other universities across the United States that have picked up on this companion animal program idea and have ran with it. So we're at a very fun time in the university level where we have this opportunity to teach about the care of animals. And if you combine that with a business degree, man, 4 years later, you're smart, you're ready to go.
Well,
So,
Carmen, it's interesting because, I think of, in the last maybe 20 years or so, there's really been kind of this shift
mhm,
in how we take care of our animals. Like
that's right.
really like, I mean, there have always been folks who have like, this is my baby. I don't have
Yes.
kids, these are my babies. But then, when it comes down to like, doggy daycare
Mhm,
and, ways to engage our animals while we go on vacation or we have to, I mean, there's
mhm.
been more of that focus
Yes.
of people really paying attention and wanting to make sure, but whereas like 30 years ago, people were like, oh, they don't have feelings, where a lot of people are like, oh yeah, they do.
Yep.
So what do you think started that to where people were really focusing on more of if I have to leave my animal who is used to me as their companion, how can I provide them with the least stressful environment as possible?
Yep. I think that was a natural process as the boarding and daycare industry started growing and we started seeing more interaction and start having more interaction. At the same time, the veterinarian community was learning more about this animal human bond that was happening. So that created a lot of research. And now
Mm,
that research, then the amount of knowledge that maybe we intuitively knew decades ago that we had forgotten about as we moved from a farming environment to a more commercial environment. Now we've gone sort of back full circle again, where now we begin to understand that our animals do have feelings, that they do have good days and bad days. They're just like us in a lot of ways. And so once we started to recognize that, we started to incorporate that into our culture, then we started expecting services at the same level. So now truly, when I talk to people coming into the industry, I say to them, you are in the childcare industry. I just want you to land on that for a moment. That's where you're landing
yep.
because they're family members coming in. So I think the challenge though for the pet owner who call themselves pet parents and for the pet owner is specifically in the United States, because I'm international, so I'll specifically talk to the United States. We do not have federal laws that govern how your pet will be taken care of in a boarding facility, nor do we have state laws necessarily, or county laws, or city laws. So there's sort of this misunderstanding that there are laws that say this is how you'll take care of my baby. Now, childcare side, oh my word, I can't go through the amount of regulations you have on the childcare side. But for pet boarding and daycare, we do not. So IBPSA has established the basic standards. This is the minimum standards for care. And we do have, like the state of Colorado, they have some laws. North Carolina has an inspection that they go through. California has a few laws, but basically, we don't have a regulation that you would expect to have. So this is the most
Mm,
important thing when I talk to pet parents about when they're going to find a place for their pets. You have to do your due diligence and you have to ask a lot of questions
yeah.
because if you don't ask the questions and you make an assumption, then you'll find yourself maybe in a place that you didn't want your pet. For instance, they say, well, I'm taking my pet's staying overnight. Surely they have somebody who stays overnight. Nope, that's not true. So you need to ask that question.
Well,
And
yeah, and
then
that
when you,
that gets on the subject of I mean, there are things that we should check. So
yes,
asking if we have, so let's look at boarding facilities and then pet
yep,
sitters. What are things that the parents need to
yeah.
find out when it comes down to kind of doing research?
Yeah, absolutely. So for a pet setting, it is quite interesting. There's the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters that actually has a certification program that pet sitters could take, and they could be certified in pet sitting, and they should also be bonded to come into your house. So you want to talk to them about, are they certified? Are they bonded? You want referrals, and then you want them to, in all things, whether you're talking boarding or pet sitting, you want your pet to meet the person and the environment they're going to be in. So let's switch over to the boarding side. And the boarding side, we have third-party certification, and that third-party certification is not required, and neither is certification on the pet sitting side. It's optional, okay? So you can get certified. And so you ask them, where did you get your education? Are you certified? Now, there's a lot of places for them to get their education. Maybe they went through a companion animal program at university. Maybe they got some of their education through IBPSA. Maybe they went to a conference someplace and got a certificate of education from something, but you want to ask those questions. And when it comes to daycare, you want to ask them, tell me where you got your daycare training from, because boarding is one thing, daycare is another. So then you want to ask questions like, well, how many pets do you keep in a group? Industry standard is not more than 15 to 2 people.
Okay.
Okay. And then you say to them, well, I have a geriatric dog. So in my case, I have Java. Java's 10 years old. He's a Labrador. I adopted him from Mesilla Valley Animal Shelter when he was 3 years old. And Java, though, he's a high energy 10-year-old, but you may have a 10-year-old who's not high energy. He's still considered geriatric, even though he's 10. So when I would go to take Java to daycare, I would ask, okay, Java's 10. Here's his attributes. Can you tell me what kind of group he'd be socializing with? And how often will he be socializing with that group, et cetera, et cetera. So you just have to ask the question. So the first thing I say is you want to, first of all, when you are going to pick a place for your pet, you want to go interview the boarding facility or the pet sitter without your pet. So you're going to go to the boarding facility, you're going to call them and say, hey, I'd like to do a walkthrough. They'll schedule a time. You go do the walkthrough. You ask some questions. Do you have an emergency plan if something happens in your facility? What happens if my pet's here and there's a fire, or my pet gets hurt or needs to see the vet? What is the plan for that? Where did you get your education? Do you like the feel? When you walk in, does it feel clean, or does it smell like urine everywhere and poop everywhere? Do you feel that the environment is safe? Because remember, they are business owners and they have to meet OSHA standards for safety. Okay, so an IBPSA provides these standards, and we provide them at international because OSHA went to international standards a few years back. So we read all of our curriculum for our industry at international standards. So we make that available to our members. So there's no reason for them not to have a safe environment for their employees and the pets. So you're going to ask all those questions. And if you're comfortable, then you're going to schedule a meeting with your pet. Doesn't matter if it's a pet sitter, boarding facility, or even a groomer, you're going to schedule a meeting. This is going to be just walk in the door, see how we do. With your pet, you're going to want them to have at least a 2 to 3 hour session in daycare if you're going to put them in daycare. And if you have a cat, some facilities offer daycare for cats also. So let's not forget our little feline friends. So you're going to bring your pet in. They're going to do some look at the pet. How are they interacting with the other pets? Is there a problem? Do they see some challenges? Then you come back and get your pet. Now, I'm going to tell you, as soon as you walk in the door with your pet in a boarding facility, your pet is going to tell you whether they even like the place or not, because pets don't lie. So the question I have for you is, how well do you know your pet? Are you aware of body language when your pet is frightened, or when your pet is overly excited? So you need to really understand the body language of your pet, because they will not lie to you about whether they're comfortable or not.
Yeah.
So now it may take a few times for them to just let the lead go and off they go, but that's different than fear, shaking, laying flat on the ground, I don't want to move, that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Carmen, there are all sorts of things, and I keep thinking, I've got 2 cats and a 30-pound tortoise. The tortoise doesn't really care as long as we feed him, but our cats, as we finish up, because we're going to provide all of this information,
Right.
a link to this, because the IBPSA site will put the link down below or above, all depending on how you're seeing this, on questions you can ask, really a
Right.
checklist on all of
Right.
these things. At the beginning of the year, I was away for 2 months, and I got back home, and my cats were like, "Who the heck are you?" And so when we reunite, as we finish up
Right.
today, Carmen, like
Right.
what are some of the things that we can do when we reconnect with our pets?
Right.
Because sometimes they're like, "Wait a minute, I think you left me."
Right.
I don't know if I'm
Right.
happy with you.
Right.
So how do we reconnect with our pets?
So we need to reestablish our routine as quickly as possible. So we're coming back home, we're picking up our pet, we're bringing him back home with us. The first thing you don't want to do, you don't want to give them water or food right away, because that's just, they need to settle for about 30, 45 minutes. But you want to reestablish, okay, we're home, everything's normal. If they get excited about the suitcases, maybe you take the suitcases home first, then you come get the pet, take the pet home. But you really want to establish, okay, we're back into our routine, and give them the time to settle back in. Don't force them. I like to take Java for a walk when we've been gone for a while. We get back home, we go on the lead, now we go for a walk. So now he gets that energy out if Carmen's home or Rusty's home. And so he's walking it out. And then we come back into the house and he's like, okay, I'm good.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
distract them, get them back into that routine as quickly as possible. But, once you do this a couple times, it gets easier and easier for them sometimes to come back into the routine.
Yeah. Cats are a different creature though, because
They are very, very different.
they get a little vindictive and they remember things.
Right, they do.
They do. They do. But I still love them all the more.
Yep.
Carmen RustenBeck, it's been so lovely to talk with you. And if you are worried, if you know, if you're going to be planning a trip this summer, and you've got pets that you want to make sure are taken care of, we're going to provide the information either above or below, all depending on the International Boarding Pet. Uh, it,
IBPSA.
IBPSA. When you say it enough, then you're like, oh yeah, I can say it in my sleep.
I got it.
Yeah, you got me. But we have that information available for you so that you can go ahead and look that up. But Carmen RustenBeck is the founder of the International Board and Pet Services Association, and it's lovely talking with you. I know that you're one of those that's like you have all this information. Like, give me 5 hours, I will talk to you about it.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's the thing. That's what you want. You want more information instead of very little information. So I appreciate that. But we have all that information. And if you'd like to do a Zoom chat with us, you can go ahead and message me here through this social media. And I will be more than happy to schedule a Zoom chat with you. But Carmen, it has been great. We'll have all your contact information available so that people can find out how they can take care of their pets when they have to go away, because we want them to be okay. So thank you so much. It was fabulous seeing you, and I know I'll get to see you again soon.
Yes, bye-bye.
Bye.